Okay, so before I get started, I wanted to go ahead and measure where it sits on its own weight before I jack anything up. I just use this rear bumper for a reference. We'll measure how far it is from the flat concrete here. And when we do the axle flip, get all that put in, we'll see how much we lowered it. To the bottom we are at 1 foot 9 7/8. A fancy board here. We'll start tearing into it now. Just not looking forward to busting those bolts out.
Okay.
So far on it, I started this rear axle flip, and I got all these hanger bolts and everything loose, but I was putting my impact on here and everything, and it was just spinning like it seized to the bushing in there, so I couldn't get them out. So I had to stop there and just bolt this up just to hold it in place. Let's go ahead and I'm going to try to just get these out, and then I'll undo the brake line right here, roll that axle backwards, do the axle flip, roll the axle back in there, and then bolt these back up, and that should get us our axle flip that we needed. Next will be a C-Notch kit that I have. I'm not going to get to that right now. And I'm tired of messing with this crap. I'm going to end up having to redo all the bushings, all the bolts, cut everything out. It's ridiculous. It's all seized up, and we haven't had rain in 2 or 3 months, and I'm out here with a torch and a water hose. It's just not safe. So okay, well, as you just saw me fighting through all that crap, I didn't want to bore you off any more of that, so I just got after it. And I had to get my attitude adjuster right over there, get the old fire stick out, and just went after it. So I'm kind of at a spot where I need some drill bits and some bolts and stuff, because I pretty well burned through them all. I want to catch you guys up on where I am and what I'm going to do next. So as you can see, leaf springs are off. I torched every single one of these factory rivets, and I'm stepping these up a little bit because I'm putting some bigger bolts in them. So I'll step these out. These I have not. You can kind of see the difference there. So next, what I'm going to have to do is get rid of this old bump stop here and the bottom part of it here. And then we're going to drop this frame down, and when we put the hangers back on it, the springs will be underneath the axle. So that's going to raise it up a lot, and that's why I've got that C-Notch kit. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut this stuff off while I'm at it, and while I'm waiting on stuff to charge, I got to get some extra bolts and all that stuff. I'm going to go ahead and do that and get ready, and then the next thing will be mocking up the new C-Notch there, so we can cut out for it, and then bolt and weld it all up. So I'm just going to kind of put the camera here and let you guys see me do some torching and stuff, and let you see where I'm at. And next thing will be just getting some supplies and stuff like that. I'm going to go ahead and just cut this stuff off with a torch, and then that'll be it for today, and I'll get some more supplies and we'll come back to it. Alright, we've done some damage. Take you over. Here's the leaf springs. I had to get that sucker out. That was hold on, lay it down where you can see it. This was why I was having such trouble getting everything apart. It's pretty well seized to the bushing, but got it out. This is me stepping up the hanger holes. So I'll get the bigger bolts bolted to the frame, and then I'm just going to do some beads around it just for extra strength. Make me feel a little bit better. Same thing with these. Getting these all prepped. We'll bolt that up, and that'll raise that way up there. But while I've got everything apart, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and do the C-notch. Okay, well, I lied. I don't want to go get any cutting wheels. It's late. Nobody's really going to be open. I bought some cutting wheels, but I don't have the right piece for my grinder to hold it on. I need the ones that are actual threaded, and I just got the disc. So I don't have much time off, so I wanted to make some progress. That being said, I went ahead and started on this. May not get it bolted up tonight, but we'll get it cut, and we'll be ready to move on to the next step. So I just laid this out, made a template, so I can put it on here. And here's the actual C-notch. That's been broken before. Anyway, and what I did was I made this template, and I just put it up against here like this, and I made this C part a little more narrow. That way, if I cut it, and I don't want to cut too much is what I'm getting at, because you can take too much out and you'll be screwed. But if you're really conservative with your cut, then it allows you to be able to trim it out a little bit so this fits, versus cutting too much out and then trying to fill it with some piece of metal. Or so go ahead and do is cut this out and see if we can get this sucker bolted up in there. Okay, so check this out, y'all. You saw a bunch of footage of me beating and banging and cutting on this old truck. So I went ahead and just made some progress. I'd already shown you pretty much what I was doing. So I went ahead and made some progress, and I want to show you where I am, and now I can show you what the axle flip does. Okay, so I'll just show you quick that axle flip kit. If you've seen them go both ways, you know, where you can, like on an old CJ, you can flip the axle to put the springs on top of the axle, or sorry, you can do like an axle flip and put the springs on top of the axle, and that'll raise it 3 inches or so. But you always have to weld perches on, which I know nowadays they've made some stuff like this here. Back when I did it, I had to buy some perches and then square it all up and all that crap. It took a long time. So these here are doing the opposite. What you're going to be doing with this is taking your leaf spring down here and putting it, instead of sitting on top of your axle, it's going to go underneath it with the U-bolts you need and the bolts for that. But here's the kicker. This is the main thing. By getting this, you don't have to buy a new perch. This is the perch. And what it does is it fits right up underneath your axle, and where the old springs used to sit on that perch, this fits right up inside the bottom of it, and it's got the hole for the springs right here. So that normally, the bolt coming out of your springs where the spring pack goes together, I'll show you that in a second, but that normally would go, you would normally use the bottom part and it would sit on the stock perch. Well, now you're going to be using the top of that spring pack bolt. So that is where this comes in. So you just slide this underneath the old perch. Obviously it goes around the axle here, and then you face this hole towards the front, and then your spring pack perch bolt, or your spring pack bolt, this goes right in here, and that squares it up and puts it where it used to be and all that. It's just supposed to keep it pretty well stocked. That's why it's just like a bolt up deal. I, of course, had a hell of a lot more work to do on this one because everything is rusted and seized and all that crap, which you're gonna run into with a 50-year-old truck. But I'm gonna go ahead and just bolt all this stuff up and kind of run you guys through it. I'll get a hold of the camera here and show you the new bolts and everything I put in on the hangers. And then, like I said, we'll go ahead and we'll get this in, we'll set the spring in, and then we'll really look at it and see how nice it looks. And then I can finish drilling out the holes on that side, and we'll go ahead and mount it up, and then we'll bolt everything up tight and see where it sits. Okay, let's see how well this works. Here's our springs. This is the spring pack bolt I was talking about. here's your old perch, here's your new perch. So this hole here will just go right on that bolt hole, and this will come up. And this piece, like I was showing you, the hole goes forward towards the front of, the hole goes forward towards the cab of the truck, and it just comes right in here, and boom. Let's see how it just fits right in with that old perch, and then everything will get tightened up with those U-bolts. So I'm gonna leave that sitting right there, and find the bolts for these, for this shackle and everything, and I will raise this up. You guys can kind of see it work. I'll try to speed this up when it's done, but I'm gonna grab the stuff I need, the bolts and all, and we'll put it on there and see how nice it looks. Talk about a bitch and a half. All right, let's lower it down and see how it sits without a, see how it sits. It won't have the bed on it, but see how it sits without that. Hopefully we won't be disappointed. Well, it is definitely lower. That's nice. That'll be good once we get the front done. Now, let me move this. Now remember, the cab is kind of sitting back a little bit because those mounts aren't on it. The mounts are completely gone. So anyway, it's already doing that. I'm gonna see if it'll fire up, and I'll go ahead and back it out of here, and we'll set it out front and see how it looks. Well, I'm still letting it run for a minute, but you can see already how much it's going down. Now there's a slope here, yes. But if you remember, that truck's set like this, big time. The front was low because that truck always had a service bed. So I guess with the springs that are on it, it used to sit level. So it was sitting up like this. Now you can see it's tilted back. Now that cab will come up in the rear a little bit when I put new mounts on it, but the front's gonna go down. I've got 4-inch springs for the front, so that's gonna look really good. Coming along pretty nicely. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for the rear axle flip and drop on the 72 C20 we have. Next episode, we're going to drop the front. And we'll probably just continue on the rear with some things it needs. Like I said, the exhaust I was going to redo anyway, but I had to cut part of it. And I need to do some welding around those new C-Notch braces. And I'm going to go ahead and weld around the leaf spring hangers, because that old, when I pulled the old factory rivet out, I bolted all that back, but I still, you know, that's a factory I'm pulling out. I'd like to really, really make it strong and never have to touch it again. So I'm probably gonna do that and just weld all that up, just put some tack welds or some good welds on it. And we'll get that done in the rear and probably paint it. I'm not really sure yet. We'll bleed the brakes and try to get that carrier bearing taken care of. I was just driving it over here. It's about to come apart. But while the bed's off, we'll go ahead and do all that stuff. Anyway, just want to say thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking through me with this one. This one's been rough, and glad to finally have that part done. We're gonna move on to the next. Once the suspension and everything's done, we're gonna start doing the body work, which is gonna be our cab mounts, cab corners, rocker panels, whatever needs to be done on the floor, all the door trim and seals, all that stuff that rattles around on it, get rid of all that crap. Once that's done, we'll move on to mechanical. But anyway, appreciate you guys sticking with us. Appreciate you watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned for the next episode on this truck. Take care, guys.